From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
You big cuties.
Morning.
Isn't it? Well, I feel sorry listening to that weather report. Like, I'm looking out, I'm seeing over my western hills, stars. I can see nothing but blue sky. Sun's up, the weather's on its way back. We're heading into spring. 15 degrees this morning.
Oh my goodness. I'm 30 degrees right now, mate. I'm looking out right now. There's a sunset, blue skies, 30 degrees. Got a bit sunburned today on my arms, actually, while having my midday coffee. It's just like we're living in the Maldives.
Maldives.
Yeah. Maldives.
You don't dive into it, all right?
What's the weather like where you are, Steve?
Maldives.
I think it's about the same as yours, mate. Very, very depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're here to bring some sunshine to your day. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
The North East Footy Breakfast.
Steve, today, there's no what the fact today. I'm giving it.
What?
I'm giving it a 1 day break.
Disappointed
no
about that.
What?
No. So, I have made a quiz just to cheer you up after last night's result, mate.
Oh, God.
But more on that later. It's a surprise.
It's gonna go 2 ways.
You're gonna. I can predict the future like Mystic Meg, right?
Yeah.
I reckon you're going to equally, absolutely love this quiz, and also equally, absolutely detest it.
All right.
It's going to be
Interesting.
one of the weirdest experiences of your life. You're going to equally want to love it, but equally want to destroy it with every fibre in your body. So yeah, we'll get back to that though.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Oh, it is. But we've got loads of stuff to talk about, lads. There's obviously the game last night, Chelsea versus Newcastle defeat, but some promising signs from some of the younger players as well. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about that. The injuries are going to mount up again for Newcastle by the looks of things, though. Like I said, what the fact's taking a break. We're going to talk Amanda Staveley. She says it's only a matter of time before a Saudi club is in the UEFA Champions League.
What?
We're going to talk.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We'll come back to it.
Move on.
I promise you, we'll come back to it. We're going to have Ted's tabloid tidbits. We're going to have a look around the local papers and see what we're going to find in there. We're going to talk social media. Is it the death of the true football fan? You're either a happy clapper or you're a bedwetter, apparently. Are they terms that you're familiar with, lads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. After
Certainly
50
on the
drinks.
Newcastle timeline.
That's it, yeah, exactly. So
was
yeah,
just
we'll
horrid.
talk a little bit about that
Steve,
because
oh my
apparently
God.
there's no in between now. You can't support the lads without being a happy clapper, and you can't have a go at them because you're a bedwetter, and there's no in between anymore. So that's fun. Injury management, something that me and Steve talked about in our little WhatsApp exchange last night while we were watching the Newcastle match. Not together, obviously. That would be a bit of a round trip to make it back here. But yeah. Injury management, from heavy-handed physios to extended spells on the sidelines, our injuries being mismanaged. We're going to have a look at the Premier League profit and sustainability rules because they're going to be replaced again this summer. And just tons more guff that we usually produce as well. So, like we do every day, though, we're going to start with some club headlines. Take it away, Dars.
Tons more guff. We're going to get that on the poster.
Tons more guff.
And proud. Boro News.
Good morning, Boro fans. Hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Middlesbrough head to Birmingham tonight under another new manager, I should say. But this time it is one that is loved by the Boro faithful. Last time we met Birmingham, it was under Wayne Rooney. In fact, it was his very first game in charge. Fast forward, and it's now under the stewardship of Tony Mowbray. Sadly, though, as we are all aware, due to ongoing health issues, Mulga will be absent from the sideline tonight, but his ever-familiar number 2 in Mark Venus will be leading the Brum in charge. Michael Carrick spoke of his worry of the amount of games for Boro that have had in the past couple of weeks. He said this period and having to decide whether to rest or stick to the main squad is the concern. Boro have had a shocking year of injuries, and the Boro boss has stated that management now would be key to keeping his squad together and fit for the run home. Boro have had the return and been buoyed by the return of Howson and Jones, albeit to the bench, but we are still missing a good chunk of our first team. With the third game in the space of 2 weeks, it will be important to make sure Boro do not push anyone over the threshold. Boro will also have Blackburn this weekend before the much-needed international break of 2 weeks. And just finally, Middlesbrough will be heading into a rare position in tonight's game with none of their players at risk of picking up yellow cards. The accumulation suspension in the final game before the 10-card cutoff. 10 yellow cards before the end of the 37th league game would normally carry a 2-match suspension. With Boro, unfamiliar in these circumstances, unlike previous seasons, the only player that is quite close is Hayden Hackney, but he is currently injured. So Boro, no risk to there, just a few more injuries. On to Brum. That's your headlines.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Good morning, Sunderland fans. Sunderland AFC under-21s grabbed a point on the road with a 2-2 draw at Manchester City in the Premier League 2 last night. Mohamedou Sissoko gave the Blues the lead after 20 minutes. Caden Kelly pulled the game level with an emphatic strike 5 minutes from the break. Harrison Jones headed Sunderland ahead just moments after the equaliser. Then Ty Soji has secured a point on the board with a left-footed finish with 15 minutes to play. The young Black Cats return to Wearside with a point on the board ahead of next week's league fixture against none other than Newcastle United. The Premier League have released a statement that impacts Sunderland and the rest of their championship opponents. No offer of increased funding for the AFL was forthcoming from Premier League clubs following a shareholders meeting in London on Monday. A 6-year deal granting the AFL almost 15% of the net media revenue with the Premier League, projected to be worth in the region of £900 million, has previously been mooted. But the Premier League clubs are now prioritising agreement on their own financial model before speaking to the AFL, following yesterday's announcement that the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules are set to be replaced in the immediate future. And finally, interim head coach Mike Dodds has dropped an early selection club ahead of this weekend's visit of relegation candidates QPR. Dodds, speaking after the defeat at St Mary's, noted that Adil Aushish, particularly, and Nasri Rusin were unlucky not to start, but hinted they may feature in the lineup against QPR this weekend. They were unlucky not to start. Adil definitely, the 37-year-old said. I thought Naz came on and his energy and enthusiasm added to what we were trying to do. Adil and Naz have forced their way forward in terms of next weekend, but we've got to do our preparation and diligence for QPR. But by coming on and playing as they did, they give themselves every chance. They are your Sunderland headlines.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Newcastle United lost 3-2 at Chelsea last night as their European dreams hit another setback. Alexander Isak's 12th Premier League goal, that's 16 in all competitions, and a sublime strike from Jacob Murphy wasn't enough to gain any reward at Stamford Bridge last night as goals from Jackson, Palmer and Mudryk secured the points. To make matters worse, Anthony Gordon limped off last night with what looked like a knee injury, whilst Harvey Barnes was a notable absentee, with Howe confirming post-match that the midfielder will miss this weekend's FA Cup match against Manchester City with a tight hamstring. Former Newcastle reserve Cameron Ferguson has been given the chance to revive his faltering football career by his father Duncan. Now manager of Inverness Caledonian Thistle, Ferguson Sr. invited his 20-year-old son to train at the Scottish Championship side and is considering handing him a contract for the remainder of the season. Ferguson Jr. is a free agent after leaving Newcastle in January, having spent the first half of the season on loan at Scottish League 2 outfit for Athletic, but was left languishing on the bench for the most part. And tickets for the Premier League visit to Craven Cottage on Saturday, April the 6th at 3 o'clock are now on sale to season ticket holders with 32 points. The next scheduled reduction is 2 o'clock today. That's your Newcastle headlines on Tuesday the 12th of March.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
It is the North East Footy Breakfast, and we may as well start with that game last night. You can tell by Steve's tone, there's a little bit of a hurt in the result, I guess, in terms of injuries picked up as well. I thought it was a great game of football to watch as a neutral, mind, Steve. Some good goals on display. Chelsea actually showing a little bit more cutting edge than what they probably have done nearly all season, up against a challenger for those top spots in the Premier League. How did you see it, mate? Are you disappointed, or is it kind of like one of those where it just confirms that, okay, we lick our wounds and we get ready for next season?
I mean, we were backwards and forwards with messages last night when I was watching it. Obviously, didn't get to the game last night, so stuck watching it on TV with the usual biased commentary from Andy Townsend, who, if you cut his veins, he bleeds blue. So, I mean, yeah, Newcastle United were poor last night. They should really have, taken Chelsea at the bridge last night and put it to rest early on. I mean, they were there for the taking, and we had a team that was capable of doing it. That's the most disappointing thing. Fair enough, Harvey Barnes, didn't make the squad last night. Got a slight issue with his hamstring, but it's not the be all and end all. I thought we had a strong 11 and we had options on the bench, but unfortunately, we just got off to another bad start. It was a lacklustre performance. It's the best way to describe it. And we were punished by a Chelsea team that took their chances. When you hear a 3-2 scoreline, you think it's a 5-goal thriller, but it was anything but that. And it goes alongside our other abject performances in London, really. When you look at it, we got a point at West Ham, but we got smashed at Spurs and Arsenal, and now conceded another 3 goals at Chelsea. It's disappointing, and it's a stark contrast, really, to our undefeated London League record last season. I mean, it's question marks that are being raised against some players. Have they got the flip-flops on? Are they just not recovering from the injuries that they've had? And this question marks, again, will surface this week over Eddie Howe. I mean, the next game we have is Man City away in the FA Cup. You would presume, typical Newcastle, to go and win it there, but you would presume Newcastle will lose and go out of the FA Cup at the weekend, which means the season is more or less over to some fans. But I would say that, yes, our record at Chelsea has always been poor, but with the exception of that night that Cisse scored those 2 wonder goals, it really is debatable whether we've had a better opportunity to win at Stamford Bridge than we did last night. Especially with Chelsea being, at odds with themselves, because, the fans aren't a fan of the manager, for starters. They've got a team of individuals. They haven't got a team that plays for it, plays together. But we made them look like world beaters last night. And for that's the first time we've scored more than 1 goal at Chelsea since that night that Cisse scored those goals. And a fat lot of good it did us. That's the disappointing thing, really. Especially when it looked as if we'd turned a corner against Wolves at home. It's turned out to be a cul-de-sac at the King's Road for us. It's that bad. We're back to feeling a bit down and a bit sorry for ourselves and licking our wounds. And a lot of people on social media are pointing towards the midfield, saying that that it's not functioning properly. Longstaff seems to be getting a lot of criticism on social media. He hasn't been himself. He hasn't been himself. Maybe he is one of those who's come back, and struggled with recovering from his injury. But Botman for me is I think I made the point last night. His nickname was Rolls Royce. Well, he is like a Morris Minor at the minute. He's very slow. He's making the wrong decisions, and he's not the player that we thought we had last season, and that's disappointing. He's making the wrong decisions, but he does look slow. And we had a bit of a discussion backwards and forwards when Anthony Gordon went down and the physio came on. It was quite clear that this was a knee injury. Now I've heard 2 different sides of it, but the guy who comes on, sorry I don't know his name, but we had a physio come onto the pitch who bent his knee back in such a way that Anthony Gordon quite clearly shouted out in pain. And I was thinking, well, is that what you do when you get a knee injury? Some people said it was. Other people were saying, what the, like the same as me, really concerned as to why anyone would do that when someone's clearly in pain. But off he went. He walked off, which is a positive, but it just looked like another blow to Newcastle United's first team options, and let's hope that injury isn't as bad as we all feared. Positives, well, Tino Livramento was a positive light last night. We all knew he would be. He was deputising for Kieran Trippier, of course. He played on the left and played on the right last night, and he looked equally good on both sides. And Murphy, when he came on, was probably the bright spot in the midfield. Took a pass from another substitute, of course, Lewis Miley, who came on, and again, who didn't have a great amount of time on the pitch, but did enough to warrant a pat on the back, I think, from Eddie Howe afterwards. And young Joe White as well came on, who again didn't have a great deal of time, but didn't look out of place and took a yellow card for his troubles last night. But if we'd equalised last night, it would have been undeserved. That's our 9th away league defeat of the season. Only Brentford and Sheffield United have lost more away from home. That tells you, how bad our away form has been. Another positive, Bruno didn't get booked again. He's managed to avoid it, and of course Anthony Gordon is still two Premier League yellows away as well. So they both got away with it again last night. But he's still refusing to tackle, which is the only way that you could see it. The fans were in good voice. 3,000 Geordies travelling down there last night, and many will have had to stay over. Well done to them. It was a strange game, and I think Eddie Howe said that at the end. It was frustrating. We did start the game well, but as soon as you concede with their first attack of the game, you're up against it. And it wasn't a game with a lot of chances, but it was a high scoring game. And as I say, it just wasn't a 5-goal thriller. After the match, Eddie Howe didn't give a great deal of info on Anthony Gordon because he didn't know the full ins and outs, so that will come out over the course of the next couple of days. He did say Harvey Barnes wouldn't be fit for Man City, but should be okay after that. And he praised Joe White for his performance. But a poor day, a poor night, and got to lick our wounds. It's not all over with European qualification. We play West Ham at home in our next Premier League game. If we win that, we're back in amongst it. But it just feels every step forward we take, we're taking 2 steps back, and that's the disappointing thing about last night's result.
I felt like Livramento got kicked all over last night, Steve. I don't know if you saw it the same way as me. Did you think Chelsea actually saw him as that much of a threat? Because nobody else seemed to be getting targeted as much as he was. He was getting his ankles clipped every 5 minutes. And obviously I'm watching it as a neutral, slightly less than neutral, really. Probably bordering on more blue than black and white, I would say.
Yeah.
But still, I couldn't help but feel for the lad. There was barely any yellow cards shown in the game as it was. But yeah, I just thought he was targeted quite unfairly last night. Did you see it the same way?
Yeah, I did. He was standout. He was the standout player. But the referee made the decision last night quite clearly not to book people. Didn't want to do the paperwork quite clearly, and that's the problem, isn't it? As soon as you make that decision. John Brooks was the referee. As soon as you make that decision, then you've got to stick with it. And we always tend to find that these games are the games where suddenly 75 minutes in, they go card happy, But he was fair for both teams. But yeah, Tino Livramento was definitely targeted, but he was our most aggressive player going forward. So just disappointing all round. And as I say, it's out of the frying pan into the fire. FA Cup match now against Manchester City away, with a lot of Newcastle fans going down there. I think just for the
to bounce back,
just for the day out. I think people are saying we're just going to go down for the day out. It's a good way. It's a good way of lowering your expectations. But disappointing last night, and got to bounce back against West Ham at home.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We'll pick up a little bit more on the injury side of things as well. We'll talk about physios, and obviously all 3 North East clubs have had extended spells on the sidelines with some of their star players as well, so we'll pick up on that. But first, we'll have some ad breaks.
Thank you very much. I went to the doctor. He said, "You got a very serious illness." I said, "I want a second opinion." He said, "All right, you're ugly as well." I said to the doctor, I've only got 59 seconds to live." He said, "Wait over there a minute."
If Tommy was still here, He'd say taking your heart medicine ain't no laughing matter. It helps you stick around longer. So if you can't get to the docs but have questions about medication for angina, high blood pressure or cholesterol, call the British Heart Foundation Heart Nurses on 0300 333 0333.
Just like that.
Visit bhf.org.uk.
Hi, this is Jeff. I'm here every weekday morning with the North East Time Tunnel. 60 minutes of hits, all from 1 year. Test your knowledge, see if you can guess the year. If you like your music for the last 40 years, along with some interesting facts about the tracks, then this is just the show for you. We've got some great features, songs that should have been hits but weren't, second-hand songs, and all the national holidays celebrated around the world today. The Time Tunnel, 11 o'clock weekdays.
The North East Time Tunnel. From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye. The North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the toon and the cat.
Together across the North East.
The toon, the cat and the red.
I think our glamorous assistant has a message on the WhatsApp, is that right?
Yeah, you can get in touch with I'm not sure about glamorous.
Radio's Debbie McGee.
Money Penny.
Good morning.
That makes me a balding elderly magician.
You can get in touch with the show at any time via our WhatsApp 0330 043 2002. And this one came in actually before the show started. It's from Matty, who's got a lot to say. Morning, guys.
Morning, Matt.
Hope you're
Morning,
well. Question for Steve. Where does he stand on the Eddie Howe situation? For me personally, I think the writing's on the wall. It's a matter of when, not if, he's going to be sacked. I'm officially Eddie out after the game last night. It summed us up. Zero plan B, picks his favourites 4-3-3 every game. Where's our defence? Botman's still injured. I reckon the intensity, the high press is gone, making Chelsea look like prime Barcelona. Also leaving Longstaff on the pitch for me. I've been saying for months, what are we watching? What we're watching is the Bournemouth How. You can predict when the subs are made in the 68th minute every game. His post-match interviews yesterday sounded awfully like Steve McLaren and Pardew. Oh, that's got to hurt. That's got to hurt. And I'm not the only person saying the more injuries we've got, what on earth? And what on earth was the physio doing with Gordon last night? Big changes are needed to be made in the summer, including the medical team. And God help us against Manchester City. Is that fair, Steve?
Wow. I think he's probably summed up how most of the Newcastle United fan base are feeling on social media at the very least. I mean, my friends, they're all a bit down. I mean, it is like a roller coaster, though. Everybody after the Wolves game were up and things looked better, but I've got to agree with a lot of his points. The Longstaff thing is strange. I will give the kid a bye, though. I think that I do think it's probably injury related, which means that, if Eddie Howe's picking him, then and maybe he is still struggling a little bit, then that should be picked up in training. That's down to the coaching staff and the management. But I know exactly where he's coming from with regards to, making Chelsea look like the prime Barcelona. I mean, we did. Chelsea were there for the taking last night, and that's a game against a Premier League rival for a European spot, albeit an outside chance of a European spot. So to go down there and concede 3 goals against a team that doesn't tend to do that against teams is very disappointing. We did make them look better than they are. But yeah, the medical situation, again, I'm not a physio, but I've never seen anybody writhe a leg around like that on the sidelines when someone's clearly in pain. Gordon went down, he flagged to the sidelines to tell him that he was in pain and that he couldn't continue. The guy comes on, and then he stretches it out, and then pushes it back, and I just thought, wow. I mean, is that right?
I'm wincing now.
Well, that's what I did. I just watched him do it, and I thought, if there's anything wrong with that leg, is that the way you do it? I don't know.
He's throwing it around like a leg of lamb, wasn't he?
I'm not a physio. I'm not a physio, but it looked daft. It looked stupid, and I've never seen anyone do that. So it was just one of them things. You know, unless you're a medical expert, you can't really answer the question as if that's the right thing to do. Thankfully, he walked off, albeit gingerly, but you're just thinking, well, you know, has that done more damage than good? But yeah, am I in the how out brigade? I'm not in the how out brigade as such, but I can see where you're coming from, and the fact that you're relating to the 4-3-3 setup and the fact that he makes a substitution. Don't all managers make substitutions around the 65-minute mark? Isn't that just a thing now that's suddenly developed amongst managers? It's always in and around that period of time. Yeah, 65 minutes. You know, Steve Bruce used to do that. You know, and you know, it does become a bit of a, you know, why do managers do that? But yeah, how is doing that? I have said on here, though, I do think that the Saudi owners will not accept not qualifying for Europe, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a managerial change in the summer. But we will only learn what these owners are all about when it comes to that decision. You know, if they make a change in the summer because we don't qualify for Europe, they'll feel as if they've been vindicated. Because let's face it, if we struggle, if they didn't trust how to spend money in January, or trust him and his team to spend money in January, when there was some money available, then, you know, what are they saving for? Are they saving to give him a bigger war chest like in the summer? Or are they saving to give somebody else a bigger war chest in the summer? That's, you know, it's going to be interesting. And with all this, you know, FFP talk over the course of the last couple of days, and, you know, the Premier League teams failing to agree on things, and, you know, there's still a hell of a lot of stuff to come out, I guess, over the course of the next few weeks with that. And, you know, if the landscape changes, it might give us a chance to, you know, to use a bit of the money that we've got behind us. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Great text in. Thanks for taking the time to do it. And I think we're all feeling exactly the same. You know, I think, but I don't think there'll be a decision made on how until the summer. You know, and I guess some people might say he's got enough credit in the bank because of what he's done previously to maybe get an opportunity to start again next year. But I think the meeting that was held in Annick I think that's probably already decided, you know how's fate, whether he stays or whether he goes. I think the owners will have already decided what they're going to do at the end of the season. So will he stay or will he go? We'll have to wait and see.
One of those key decision makers, of course, is Amanda Staveley, and Rye. As she said, it's only a matter of time before a Saudi club is in the UEFA Champions League. So I've got two questions for you, mate.
Okay,
one, do you think she's right? And two, just how bad at geography is Amanda Staveley? I mean, seriously, though.
She's pretty far off the mark.
Do you really think they'll force their way into the Champions League? I mean, obviously, we know that they've got more money than probably the rest of the world. But do you think that's enough to get a Saudi team into the Champions League?
No. They've got the is it the Asian Cup, the Asian Champions Cup? I think maybe that's more realistic than, because I know there's A-League that we sort of buy into that sort of thing, and I reckon that's more realistic than the UEFA Champions League. So yeah, and I don't think so. But yeah, Staveley, oh my goodness, she's in a world of hurt at the moment, isn't she? And she needs to needs to start listening into our morning breakfast show and start playing some of these games that we come up with, Ted, because she's well off the mark there. Look, money talks though. You know what I mean? Money talks. Yeah. Does if there's a reasonable sum there, does the Champions League, try and broaden the horizons? Whereas I was just reading just before that there's talk of this Super League coming back now as well, that the discussions have been opened up again for some reason. That, does that ultimately, does the Champions League then go, right, if this is on the cards with the Super League, do we make the Champions League, which is already the best, meant to be the best teams in the world, do we then open it up to that exact idea that the Champions League is for every league in the world to try and make to? And I would like that. I'd like to see that, like a world Champions League rather than just the Europe base. So maybe that's an option. But yeah, no, she's a bit off the mark at the moment.
Well, Steve, it got me thinking last night, this, and I thought, I can't do a geography quiz because Steve will hate it.
Yes.
But
Right.
I then came up with a geography quiz that Steve will love.
No,
Daz,
Right, okay.
Daz, take it away. Knowing me, knowing EU. 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 Aha!
I like the theme tune.
Production values through the roof.
Yeah, it took me ages. It took me ages. Literally 5 minutes and 3 words. It was just, it really tested me last night. I missed the opening 10 minutes of the match because of this as well, Steve. So it's obviously it was time well spent.
Time well spent.
Dedication.
I thought the only way I can get him interested in geography is if we throw in some Alan Partridge. So
Yeah.
here we are.
I get your logic, yeah. I get your logic.
So in honour of Amanda Stavely thinking that Saudi is in the EU or in Europe anyway, I've devised knowing me, knowing EU. Which is just a nice little round table one. There's no point scoring anything like that, lads. But we're just going to start.
That's not like you.
Got a music bed, Daz?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we can.
I thought a friendly one. Have you got a music bed?
Yeah, just 2 ticks. Keep going.
All right,
Steve,
okay.
how can you let this happen? There's no way. He's disguised a geography quiz here.
I haven't started. I haven't said I'm playing. To be fair,
Okay.
right?
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I'm sitting back waiting to see what comes, and then.
Oh, I like it.
What is that?
I quite like this. I quite like it. Okay,
Look at
so
this.
we're gonna just scatter this throughout the show, lads. What we're gonna do? I'm gonna give you 3 cities. You've got to tell me if they are in the EU. Not Europe, in the EU or not in the EU.
Okay.
So we're just going to do a little round table. There's obviously no chance to Google because I want instant answers from you. Just a little bit of fun. Just to poke a bit of fun at Amanda Stavely's concept of what Europe actually is. So
Can I just
we're
clarify,
going to start with
quickly, Ted? I know, I don't want to ruin it, but can I just clarify? Are you going to include Maldives?
no, because that's not a city.
Okay.
Dear doctor. So your first one, we'll start with Rye. We'll just go round the table. So we'll go Rye, we'll go Steve, and we'll go Daz.
Yes.
First city,
Australia.
Rye.
EU.
No, Sofia.
So yes.
Is Sofia in the EU?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Daz?
Yes.
The answer is yes, it is. It's Bulgaria.
Yes,
Capital of
get in.
Bulgaria. The next one, Minsk. Rye.
No.
Steve?
No.
Daz?
No.
You're all correct. It's in Belarus, which isn't in the EU.
Yes, get in.
Your final one of the first round of Knowing Me, Knowing EU. Aha! Is Prague.
Ooh.
Rye.
No.
Steve?
Yes.
Daz?
Yes.
Yes is the correct answer. The Czech Republic, absolutely. So, see, Steve, you've drawn level with the rest of the lads. I don't know why you don't play geography games more often, to be honest with you. Daz, can we have the theme tune just one more time, just so Steve smiles?
It's multi-choice.
It is, yeah. It's the best multi-choice. It's yes or no. Yeah. But I reckon, this blows, scranning on out the water, this.
Knowing me, knowing you.
Aha!
There's nothing we can't do. Knowing me, knowing
EU. Aha!
Just want to face at the time. Knowing me, knowing
EU. Aha!
Well done.
Brilliant.
See,
Well
Steve, that's got you perked your interest in geography, I reckon, that.
It has, yeah. I did pass geography at
It
school.
has no way. You're kidding me.
Yeah.
That's all I had to do.
It just takes a bit of Alan Partridge and Steve will do anything. It's brilliant.
Oh my goodness. All right, that's good to know. Write that down. Somebody
It's
write
all,
that down.
it's all we needed.
Then
It's
cross
all
it
we
out.
needed.
A bit of
All of a
Alan
sudden he's got the
Partridge and
Atlas out.
Steve will do anything. Okay.
I know
gotcha.
after the After the next break, we'll be doing Alan's Big Bath as well. His deep bath.
What a thought! What a thought! Yes. Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes just coming up with the news. I know we did interrupt it anyway. We'll just talk about injury management just for a few minutes, lads. Obviously, Steve, you touched on it last night. It was perhaps an indication it was a bit heavy-handed from the physio last night. But we've all seen these massive injuries this season to all of the sides. One thing that's striking me, though, is it's taken an enormous amount of time to get players back. Let's use Jack Clark as an example. Jack Clark was originally supposed to be out for one game. Well, he wasn't supposed to be out for any games initially. Then it was one game. Then all of a sudden it's 5 to 6 weeks. Do you think that there's maybe... I don't want to say it, but is there a bit of ineptitude here? Because surely you know after 24 hours what the situation is with an injury. Right, we'll come to you on this as well, because obviously Boro well documented their injury woes as well. Do you think enough's being done at club level to actually look after these players and get them back, or at least diagnose what the issue is?
It's a great question, because we've seen it more than ever this season. For some reason, whatever it is, and I don't know if anyone can put their finger on it, but we have seen a shocking amount of injuries at the Boro this season, more than I've ever, experienced, I think, in my time, whether it's due to the length of your games, I know we've talked about this, it's the boots and all this sort of stuff. I mean, there's just no one thing, I guess, but something needs to be done where we can look after these boys on the pitch, because that's what we need. I mean, we are so disadvantaged when we are missing, like Sunderland right now, how badly you're missing Jack Clark, you know what I mean? And what a different season, it could have been for you right now, or the past 6 games with the Jack Clark in your squad. So was it avoidable? Was it something they could have done? Was it conditioning? Was it pre-season? You know what I mean? And I think, you know what else? I think it's got a lot down to probably the changing of management. And we see this a lot in football than we don't see it in other sports. So when my point is here, and I'll liken it to the AFL here in Australia, it's very rare in Australia to see a coach get sacked as regular as we do in the Premier League or the Championship. Now, I think when you sack a coach at club level, it's not only the coach that goes, it's normally his backroom staff, it's his physio, it can be a group of people that go at the same time. Now, when you've got the same bunch of players, but they have different pre-seasons every year because it's a different style to what a manager might want, I don't know how your body's meant to condition over amount of time, because one pre-season is not going to condition you. It's multiple conditioning over multiple pre-seasons. And if it's different pre-seasons every year where this manager might come in and go, right, you're all soft, I need you to hit the weights. And then that manager gets sacked and the next one comes in and goes, right, you're all not fit enough, go for a run. You know what I mean? And then exactly, it just changed. And you know what I mean? And how's your body meant to sort of adjust to that? So that's my theory. Whether I'm right or wrong, I've got no idea. But I know all I've got is, a bunch of sandalwood oils that are left over, and I'm happy to fly over. I am registered masseuse, and I think I would have taken care of Anthony Gordon straight away last night. I would have got sandalwood oil straight into that joint, and I wouldn't have twisted it. I would have taken care of him.
On that horrifying note, should we have some ad breaks before Anthony Gordon takes out an injunction on us?
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink, the North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
And you can get in touch with the show at any time via WhatsApp, 0330 or 43 2002. You can also give us a call if you wish. I know you might be busy on a morning, but you can still get in touch, 0330 or 43 2002. Daniil has been in touch. Morning, gents.
Morning, Daniil.
First words, just says it all. Disappointed. It was a case of London calling for the Toon last night, but we didn't have the answers. We were weak in the middle. And Jack has been in touch this morning, and I'm thinking this is to do with your little quiz there, Ted. He says, morning lads, I never know if I'm awake or having a fever dream listening to this show in the morning.
Me neither.
What a way to wake up, though, right?
Now
What a way to wake up.
That's what we need to put on the posters.
Stick that on the side of a van.
Brilliant.
Very good.
Love it. Oh, it's always nice to have Jack and Daniil on. Like, and do you know what? Daniil writes really well, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. I think we should definitely get him on for a call. Like, he speaks so well. He's every point he raises is always bang on the money as well. Like, so yeah, Daniil, you need to call in one of these days. We'll have a chat with you. Yeah, just return back that slightly. It's talking about the injury management side of things, and it'll lead on to the fan opinions as well that I mentioned at the top of the show. It seems to be a growing thing that I don't know whether it's just because everybody is now internet experts, and we're just as bad, we're just as guilty of this, lads, around these tables that we're sitting around. When we talk about these injury issues, we talk about the physios being a bit heavy-handed, we talk about the communication from the club to the fans about injured players not being quite clear. It leads us to all these all these wild theories that maybe Jack Clark's being kept on ice just to sell him for a higher value in the summer and all that kind of thing. It's all social media experts, isn't it? And I think that's kind of what I'm alluding to with the next point, that social media for me is almost killing what it used to be like to be a fan. Being a fan of a football club used to be, the way you would exercise that would be on game day. You'd go to the match, or you'd watch it on TV. You'd build up to it all week. It would be the highlight of your week. But now, because of mass coverage of football, I mean, it's everywhere. Not just in terms of official channels, but you go onto Facebook. If you typed a Sunderland fans page into Facebook, you'd trip over about 35 of them before you got to the one you wanted. So it's just huge coverage. It's all fan opinion. But the thing that really annoys me is if you're being positive about the game, you're labelled as a happy clapper. If you're being kind of like, I don't fancy this game, I think we might get turned over, all of a sudden you're a bedwetter, which is the expression that they use online. Apparently, I've been accused of both in the past as well. Do you find it as annoying as me, Steve, that kind of you can't either be positive or negative about a performance without being absolutely ratified online for having an opinion about your club?
Yeah, I mean, it's it is awful. It has, social media is really the root of all evil after a game. I think there's so many poisoned pens out when Newcastle United lose. And Eddie Howe, like I mentioned earlier on, has probably built up so much credit in the first couple of years as manager, but you hear a lot of people with the knives out. You see a lot of people with the knives out after every performance, and then certain players are targeted. And social media is it's a knee-jerk reaction. That's the problem. It's a knee-jerk reaction. It's I always think about what I'm going to put before I tweet on a night time after a game like that, because you've got to be prepared for anyone and everybody to come at you about your opinion, and that only comes with experience. I think you can also waste a lot of your time replying to people. And again, like I said before, what I tend to do now is I'll post something out there and leave it. So for example, last night I just put, worst thing about the performance is Chelsea aren't very good. Gordon's injury looked like ligaments, could be season ending, I hope not. Botman is struggling, has he recovered properly? Tino a bright light tonight, we will probably beat Man City, with a laughing emoji. Now that got pretty good traction, but the one thing that I got was some bloke, beat Man City, and then an expletive, and you're thinking, well, you don't quite get sarcasm, mate.
He hasn't read the subtle humour in that, has he?
Exactly, yeah. But that, so that was, I thought about that, before I put it out, though. I didn't just write it, I put it out there. Yeah. I'm not having a go at any players. I'm not claiming that I know more than anybody else, but that's the amount of thought that I put into a tweet after a game, and that only comes from experience, because in the past I put stuff out there which you put stuff out and you think, I wish I hadn't put that out now, but you only learn that. And I think you've got to be aware as well, and this is, it's a digital footprint. You know what I mean? Whatever you put out there is there for the rest of time. Even if you delete it, somebody will have screenshotted it, somebody will have put it out there. So you do really need to think before you tweet, or think before you X, whatever you want to call it these days. But it's really is a poisonous place. But yeah, if you go down the pub, it's still the same people down the pub who were there 20 years ago, who still got, I would say, more measured opinions and more sensible opinions than some of the people on social media. Because there's no guarantee that the people who are tweeting about your football club on your timeline are actually anything to do with your football club. They may be supporters of a different team. They may not even be football fans. But you've got to take it. You've got to take it for what it is. It's a social media platform that anybody can join and say whatever they want within reason, and that's why you shouldn't really take it too seriously. If you want real opinions, and opinions about your football club, go to the pub, but drink.
I'll tell you what a great advertisement you are for the pub trade, mate. I think that's a great. But it's true though. It's absolutely true. You don't get like sort of the wild sort of you would never get a keyboard warrior down any of the pubs that we've ever drunk in the North East, because you'd be picking an exit, wouldn't you? It'd be like you can either leave through the door or leave through the window, the way that some of them go on. But not that I condone that in any way, but you're right, you get a much more measured opinion. But right, I mean, as someone who is unashamedly positive about your football club, and I mean, I think there's only one time I've heard you ever downbeat about it, and that was a couple of weeks ago, and you were on an absolute stinking run of form. I probably sit on the mood swing more than any of us, I guess, when it comes to Sunderland, although I haven't really had a lot to cheer about recently. But as somebody who's unashamedly positive, Rye, do you get a bit of stick for that online?
I do, yeah. I get a fair few DMs and stuff like that, but I've learned, I have not nowhere near with Steve's sort of experience with it and all that sort of stuff. I've been thrown into it, I guess, for a year and a bit now. And, I'm learning. I'm still learning what to say and what not to say, I guess. But I just, I'm just going to be me. I tend to sort of put out there what I think or what I like to put on my timeline sort of thing. And it's usually optimistic. I guess that's just who I am. I guess, the thing I take from it is, and you know what, and it's probably back to that whole military Afghanistan thing, is that it's a game of football. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen what war and losing mates and stuff like that can do. You know what I mean? So I'm optimistic because Boro's what keeps me happy. You know what I mean? And Boro's like my, it's, I don't know how to say, where your people, escape. It's your escape. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's my happy place. Sitting down, being able to watch the Boro at whatever time it is. That's my time to sit there and, just be happy because I'm just watching football sort of thing that I absolutely love, and the team and the club that I love. So, and the town that I love. So it that's how I kind of, see remaining optimistic, I guess you could say. But I do get stick for it. To answer your question, I get a lot of DMs. I especially get a lot of DMs since announcing Sammy Silvera and Tom Glover, especially when they don't play well. I seem to be the one that gets blamed for signing them. Yeah, like it's my fault that I brought them across. And when they have shockers, they're like, how can you be so positive? He was terrible, blah, blah, blah. But look, I just, I'm always going to be optimistic. I'm always going to think Boro can do well. And obviously I'm not always going to be right. And I was saying it this week, especially on, during the watch along and that, like we've won 2 games in a row. We've come off a shocking run of form. And now everyone's like, playoffs and all that sort of stuff. But we just enjoy it right now. Just, ride this high right now, because there's inevitably going to be another low at some point. And that's, that's all I can sort of say on it, I guess.
For me, I mean, just in, like the way I see it, it's almost split in 3 camps, I guess. The people who commentate, if that's the right word for it, on what's happening with each other's football clubs and all that kind of thing. You've got fans who pretend to be journalists. You've got journalists who pretend to be fans, and you've got fans who are fans. Do you know what I mean by that? So the fans who pretend to be journalists. I mean, the amount of like sort of content that's out there now, but that take themselves a little bit too seriously. Do you know what I mean? And we know them as well. We've seen them out there. You've got then the journalists who pretend to be fans. I'm not going to name names and all that sort of thing. I'm not into that. But it's kind of like sort of there's a, you can tell there's like a sort of a lack of sincerity about what's going out there. And then there's the fans who are fans. And I mean, I class us as that, lads, as well, to be honest. I mean, we never pretend to be journalists. Certainly, I've known you long enough now that there's no sort of edge, there's no ulterior motive, there's no arrogance about it. We speak about this as we do as fans. And what I would impress out there and want people to kind of take on board is we've all got opinions on it. Just because you don't share the same opinion as somebody else doesn't make you right, and it doesn't make them right. But there's got to be in the massive social media, there is room for us all to exist without absolutely caning each other at every possibility, at every possible turn. Especially, I mean, at Sunderland right now, it's so poisonous online on every single fan page that you see, on the Sunderland official page as well. Every time there's an announcement, like sort of. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm a fan. I'd do it. It's kind of, there was a post from Sunderland Football Club last night on Facebook saying, the focus turns to the next 7 days. And I can't help myself. I need to learn how to, hold myself in a little bit more, to be fair. I need to take a note from you, lads. But I put a comment straight out there saying, well, as long as Christian Speakman's still there, I don't really care what's coming up in the next 7 days. And I kind of, you get interaction with fans, and all of a sudden it's like sort of, you want to remember where we were 4 years ago. Yeah, I do. And we're headed back in that direction. That's why I'm getting my opinion out there. Can
I ask you, Ted, as well? Just because I looked at Jimmy Coppers, obviously, friend of the show. He was getting absolutely slaughtered on social media the past couple of days. Do you think it's harder to be, I mean, you're talking about journalism there. Do you think it's harder to be a journalist that is a fan? Or should a journalist be a fan of the club that they report on, or should it be should they assign journalists that aren't fan of the club? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you think it's easier or harder?
It's a really interesting point, mate. It is a really interesting point. I mean, I have massively different opinions to James from time to time, or Jimmy Coppers. Sorry, I'll use his radio name. I have hugely different opinions to Jimmy Coppers, and quite frequently, and we will cross words, but at the same time, I know with him, even though his opinion might be massively different than mine, I know he speaks from a fan perspective, and it is much more difficult for him because I would hate to be in his position, really, because and hopefully everything will, and I'll grow into this role and sort of become a better sort of journalist. I'm using air quotation marks that you can't see on radio, which proves my point. I'm not there yet. Where it must be really, really difficult for him is obviously he wants to speak as a fan, but he's also got that professional head that the press has to be almost impartial to these things. Of course, it's the Sunderland echo. There is going to be a little bit of partiality towards Sunderland. Of course, there is, but to get an honest opinion out there, and I know he has his own YouTube thing that he does as well, where he puts his own opinions out there. But he's got to switch that. He's got to switch James Copley Sunderland fan off and become Jimmy Coppers Sunderland journalist. It must be an absolute knife edge that he's walking on every time, and it's. Yeah, the grief that everybody gets is unwarranted, in my opinion. Like I say, the space for us all to coexist. Steve plays the game very, very well, in my opinion, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your backside, mate. It's one of those things where, putting that little bit of content out there, it's an honest assessment. It's not like provoking any debate or anything like that. It's facts about the game. And like sort of, Livermento was a threat. We looked static at the back, or whatever it is. Putting those facts out there and then just actually, switching the notifications off and going to sleep, I think is just the best way to manage that. And something I'll be having a serious think about.
You only learn, I guess, from experience when you're on social media, and that's it. I mean, there's been a horrendous trend, especially over the course of the last 2 years since the takeover. There's no doubt about it. There's been bots, Qatari bots and Saudi bots infiltrating Newcastle United's timeline, which is Autobots, robots. But it's just been awful. and that means that, you know, people who've been pro-Saudi takeover have been targeted, and you're getting embroiled in stuff you don't even understand, you know, things you don't want to know about. You know, we're only interested in supporting a football team. You know, the politics of one country and another really doesn't bother anyone in Newcastle's, you know, in Newcastle's support. But there are some people who are very, you know, very particular about it. You know, I know Newcastle fans who are completely against it but still support the team. I know people who are completely against the takeover who won't go back until this regime's gone, and I know people who, like me, don't care. And you know, we're happy just to support our football team, because that's all we're doing. We're supporting our football team. We're not interested where the money is coming from. And it's, you know, everyone's got an opinion, and that, like you just said, you made a very valid point there. It doesn't mean that my opinion's right. It doesn't mean their opinion's right. Everyone has, you know, their own views, and in this country, especially in England, you know, we're allowed to have our own views, and we're allowed to speak about what we want to speak about. In other countries, that's not allowed. So, yeah, it's, you know, social media in some countries, they don't allow the public to have access to it. You know, you can go to somewhere like China, they've got their own social media platforms. They won't encourage stuff from the Western, like the other Western countries, and it's, you know, everyone does things differently, but it's definitely changed the dynamics. That was your original question. It's definitely changed the football horizon, and I think in some ways it's changed it for the better. You know, because, you know, gives you the opportunity to you know, to communicate with other supporters and have a balanced chat.
Well, we wouldn't have met, would we?
No, you can reach
when you think about it.
Exactly. So that's a massive positive. Yeah. That's a massive positive. But you have the other side of it, which is the negative. But yeah, you've just got to learn. You know, it's like everything in life. You learn from your own experiences, and you know, that's the key, really. Just, you know, if I could just say to people, you know, just tweet something, and then switch your phone off. Don't spend hours on end going backwards and forwards with people that you'd probably never ever meet. You know.
Yeah, true.
Well, I think we could spend a whole show talking about the dangers of social media and what it's doing to the youth of today. I'm
going to ask you that, Daz, because obviously, ex-man that's been in the school, we've just seen here in Australia a ban on mobile phones now at all school levels. Is that something you have in the UK, or something you'd want, considering the kids of social media?
Yeah, they've just announced it recently, and you know, I think it's a bit of a flawed plan, really, because I'm not sure how they'll police it. I think it's a great idea. I think something needs to be done. You know, when you've got, you know, and I spoke to some secondary school teachers recently who were saying that, you know, the children, the amount of time that the pupils, the amount of time that they're wanting to go to the toilet now is unbelievable, because they can't go 10, 15 minutes without having a hit of their phone.
Wow.
And as a society, if we've got to that point with our children, it's a real worry. And the issue is the government are never ever going to stand up to these big social media companies, because they use them.
No.
You know, they use them to manipulate and get what they want. And I'm talking about, you know, politics as a whole here, not just the government. So no, I think, you know, again, I've started, but I think we're in big trouble. We're in big trouble, and the news is here. You can have your say, as always, on 0330 043 2002. And I think to give Steve another smile this morning, because maybe he needs one, go for it, Steve.
News.
I love that track, mate. Who was that, Daz?
That's Red Rum Club.
That it? You put me onto them. Honestly, I love that track. I really do. I love it with a trumpet as well, as you know.
Oh, I do.
You know.
I went to see them Friday night. They were playing at Newcastle at the university, and I mean, they're a fantastic band anyway. They know how to do it, but the trumpet. The trumpet makes all the difference. They are incredible. Definitely want to watch.
Look at you going to rock concerts in your advanced years.
I know.
I tell you what.
He hangs out with the. You're so in, Daz. Do you know what I mean? You're so in.
Speaking of gigs, lads, me and Mrs. Ted booked tickets. We have an absolute global, well, got 2 global megastars coming to Cyprus in the summer. In September, we've got Ed Sheeran, which I can take a leave. I'd rather leave the island, to be honest. It's just a glorified busker. But in July, lads, Tom Jones is going to be playing at my local city as well. He's going to be in Larnaca playing the Marina. I don't know how an 83-year-old is going to cope with July heat in Cyprus. It's going to be a little bit toasty, that one, but honestly, I'm so excited to go and see Tom Jones. I really am. I know that makes me sound aged. Exactly.
I thought that was big news, but it's not unusual, really.
Oh. Do you know, I was sat there going, not unusual, green grass, what can I get in there, you know? And he beat me to it. Damn it.
This is the danger of cheering him up. He comes out with his dad jokes, you know what I mean? Just put the cracker jokes away until December, Steve. That's when we do it.
Those were good. I mean,
still loads more to come. Absolutely. Still loads to come. We're going to talk about the Premier League profit and sustainability. Yeah, we've got to do some serious stuff, and amongst all the guff that we do as well. We've got Ted's tabloid tidbits. We're going to have a look around the North East papers as well. Loads of other stuff coming up, as well as obviously we've got Knowing Me, Knowing EU rounds 2 and 3 to come up. But first, let's have those club headlines again, lads.
Smoggies and Proud. Boro News.
Good morning, my beautiful Middlesbrough sex bombs. I hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Middlesbrough head to Birmingham tonight under another new manager for the Brum. But this time it is one that is loved by the Boro faithful. Last time we met Birmingham, it was under Wayne Rooney, and it was in fact his first game in charge. Fast forward, and it's now under the stewardship of Tony Mowbray. Sadly, though, as we're all aware, due to ongoing health issues, Mogga will be absent on the sideline tonight, but his ever-familiar number 2 in Mark Venus will be leading the Brum charge. Michael Carrick spoke yesterday of his worry of the amount of games for Boro in this 2-week period, and having to decide whether to rest or stick to the current squad is the main concern. Boro have had a shocking year with injuries, and the Boro boss has stated that management now would be key to keeping his squad together for the run home. Boro have had the return and been buoyed by both Howson and Jones, who has albeit been on the bench, but are still missing a good chunk of their first team and would hate to see anyone go missing for the run home. With their third game in the space of 2 weeks, it will be important to make sure Boro do not push anyone over the threshold, and tonight will be no different. Boro will have Blackburn this weekend as well before the much-needed international break of 2 weeks. And just finally, Middlesbrough will be in a very rare position tonight with none of their players being at risk of picking up yellow cards. The accumulation suspension in the final game before the 10-card cutoff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then 10 yellow cards before the end of a 37th league game in the Championship carries a 2-match suspension, which can be particularly costly at this side of the season. The only player for the Boro that is close is Hayden Hackney, and he's currently out injured. So, go in, Boro, go hard. It's away to the Brum tonight. It's our catch-up game. As always, up the Boro.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Newcastle United lost 3-2 at Chelsea last night as their European dreams hit another setback. Alexander Isak's 12th Premier League goal, that's 16 in all competitions now, and a sublime strike from Jacob Murphy wasn't enough to gain any reward at Stamford Bridge last night as goals from Jackson, Palmer and Mudryk secured the points. To make matters worse, Anthony Gordon limped off last night with what looked like a knee injury, whilst Harvey Barnes was a notable absentee, with Howe confirming post-match that the midfielder will miss this weekend's FA Cup match against Manchester City with a tight hamstring. Former Newcastle reserve Cameron Ferguson has been given the chance to revive his faltering football career by his father Duncan. Now manager of Inverness Caledonian Thistle, Ferguson Sr. invited his 20-year-old son to train at the Scottish Championship side and is considering handing him a contract for the remainder of the season. Ferguson Jr. is a free agent after leaving Newcastle in January, having spent the first half of the season on loan at Scottish League 2 outfit Forfar Athletic, but was left languishing on the bench for the most part. And tickets for the Premier League visit to Craven Cottage on Saturday, April the 6th at 3 o'clock are now on sale to season ticket holders with 32 points. The next schedule reduction is 2 o'clock today, and I do apologise for Rai humming along to Local Hero.
I'm so sorry.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
So you hum your way through an orchestral arrangement, mate. Good Good morning, Sunderland fans. Not from you. I don't expect it from you. Go on. Sunderland AFC. Ready? Sunderland AFC under-21s grabbed a point on the road with a 2-2 draw at Manchester City in the Premier League 2. Mamadou Sissoko gave the Blues the lead after 20 minutes. Good job we've got the earlier one that we can send out later, isn't it?
Yes.
Caden Kelly pulled the game level with an emphatic strike 5 minutes from the break. Harrison Jones headed Sunderland ahead just moments after the equaliser. Tai Soji sealed a point on the board with a left-footed finish with 15 minutes to play. The young Black Cats returned to Wearside with a point on the board ahead of next week's league fixture against Newcastle United. The Premier League have released a statement that impacts Sunderland and the rest of their Championship opponents. No offer of increased funding for the EFL was forthcoming from Premier League clubs following a shareholders meeting in London yesterday. A 6-year deal granting the EFL almost 15% of net media revenue with the Premier League, projected to be worth in the region of £900 million, has previously been mooted, but Premier League clubs are now prioritising an agreement on their own financial model before speaking to the EFL, following yesterday's announcement that the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules are set to be replaced in the immediate future. And finally, interim head coach Mike Dodds has dropped an early selection clue ahead of this weekend's visit of relegation candidates QPR. Dodds, speaking after the defeat at St Mary's, noted that Adil Al-Shish particularly and Nazari Rusin were unlucky not to start, but hinted that they may feature in the lineup against QPR this weekend. They were unlucky not to start. Adil definitely, the 37-year-old said. I thought Naz came on and his energy and enthusiasm added to what we were trying to do. Adil and Naz have forced their way forward in terms of next weekend, but we've got to do our preparation and diligence for QPR. But by coming on and playing as they did, give themselves every chance. They are your Sunderland headlines.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Now, before we get back into knowing me, knowing EU, there is another great of radio celebrating his retirement, lads. A Boro Mad radio presenter retires from hospital radio after 40 years. Stockton's Norman Johnson has been cheering up Teesside patients since 1984. After brighten up days of hospital patients for 4 decades, Norman's decided to hang up his headphones for the last time. The 82-year-old from Stockton began as a regular voice on Radio Stitch, like I said, back in 1984, spinning records and cheering up patients as they recover on the wards. But he's decided, the popular host of Thanks for the Memories has now decided it's the right time to step away from the microphone and spend some time with family. I mean, that is an incredible career. Yeah. 4 decades behind the microphone. I mean, I know it feels like that sometimes for us lads, but that's some achievement, that, isn't it?
No, it's a brilliant, volunteering all that time. You know, the amount of people that he's helped and supported. Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. Hats off to him.
Isn't it? Absolutely class. I mean,
congratulations.
Lads, yeah, huge congratulations on that as well. He got to meet a former Boro goalkeeper as well. Jim Platt actually came and presented a Boro shirt to him as well, which is lovely. This is on the Teesside Live website. But look, hospital radio is one of them unsung heroes, really, isn't it? Yeah. It probably doesn't get the recognition it deserves because, I mean, certainly in North Tees, I read that nearly 50 years that's been going on now. I mean, that's an enormous amount of time and provides so much sort of comfort for people who might be going into these places on their own and kind of, I guess getting rid of that little bit of fear as well, Daz, and making it a bit more of a comfortable experience.
Yeah, absolutely, and there was a time because I did hospital radio as well, believe it or not. It's where I first started. Got the bug for it, long time ago. And
well, you were in the right place if you got a bug from it.
Yeah. But
I'll mute that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. The support that you give, it can't be understated, and particularly back in a time when they didn't have TVs on the wards, and now they have these pull-down screens that you can look at and that you charge for, and it's ridiculous. But back in the day when I was doing it, you know, that was the only thing that you had in between visiting hours was you know, put weird little headphones in and listen to what was going on in hospital radio. So yeah, it's a brilliant thing. I mean, I had to stop doing it because my show was sponsored by KY Jelly. And I played the track "Love Really Hurts Without You," so we had to. I packed in after that, but no, it's a really important thing, you know, and you know, BBC Stitch, Radio Stitch, keep going, Radio Stitch are doing an amazing job still. So well done to him.
Yes, well done for taking the rough with the smooth, mate, with the loss of sponsorship as well. That was brave of you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Full warning, I'm still gone.
No, huge congratulations, and obviously we wish you a very long and happy retirement, Norman. That's absolutely class. I love to see positive little stories like that. And what better way to honour him with probably the worst game show there's ever been on radio? Have you got the jingle, Daz?
Of course.
Oh, tears.
Don't pretend you don't like it.
EU.
EU. Yes, it's Knowing Me, Knowing EU in honour of Amanda Staveley, thinking it's only a matter of time before a Saudi club is in the UEFA Champions League, which of course is for European clubs. So, yes, it's back to geography, Steve. I've got 3 more cities lined up, and here we are. Oh, there's a beautiful music bed there for us as well. So, we'll start with Daz this time.
Oh, okay.
And we'll go to Steve, and then we'll go to Rye, because I like to mix things up. Your first city, Daz.
Yeah.
Nicosia.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Rye.
Yes.
It's all so polite.
You are all. I know what's happened. We've gone on Radio 4. I wouldn't go that far. They have taste and decency. Yes, you're all correct, lads. Nicosia is the capital of Cyprus, which is obviously in the EU. It's also, interesting fact, lads, because I like to be interesting when I can. It's the only divided capital city in the world, because part of it belongs to technically another country. There you go. Next city, Daz, back to you.
Yeah.
Geneva.
No.
Steve.
No.
Rye.
I'm not going to be polite. No, I live in Australia. This game sucks.
There's still cities in the world, Rye. It wouldn't hurt you to open a book. You are all indeed correct. You are indeed correct. Geneva is in Switzerland. Switzerland are not in the EU, which is a big surprise to some. Next one.
Particularly Amanda.
You does. Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople. Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople, of course. Is Istanbul a city in the EU?
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Rye.
Yes.
You are all incorrect. Istanbul is the capital of Turkey. Turkey is not in the EU. They are technically qualify as on the continent of Europe, but they are not a member of the EU.
Nicely done
state.
there. Nicely done.
There you go. There you go. So yeah,
Nice
you can play us out if you want, Daz, or if everyone's had enough of that theme tune.
No,
I don't mind.
I don't think we
All
can.
right, good.
I don't think we can get enough of this.
I mean, if you give me more time, I'll do more with it. You know.
No, we won't.
EU. EU. I don't know where my mind goes. EU. Aha!
So did you just like get that little track and then just record you saying EU over the bits? Is that what you did?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Well done.
That's what makes good
The
radio.
beauty is in the simplicity, Daz. You know?
No, I get it. Yeah. I get it on this show. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm learning the
Takes about
hard
2
way.
minutes.
Yeah, no, mine didn't.
And mine lives longer in the memory. I know more of the lyrics from mine than I do of yours.
You spend 2 seconds and you up me. The day after, I drop What's Stranding on as well. I tell you, this sort of battle we have is like an early Tinder relationship. It's like a slow burn, yet
I
frustrating
really
at the
don't
same
want
time.
to know where this is going.
No, me either.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though,
Does it
right?
involve
Check
BY
the
jelly
WhatsApp for any
sponsorship?
pictures. Oh, beautifully done. Beautifully done.
There we go.
He doesn't just do dad jokes.
Yes. All right, so we're just going to take a break, and after that, we have got some more WhatsApp correspondence. You can get in touch with the show at any point. 0330 043 2002. We'll be right back after this.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye. The North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune, and the cat.
Welcome back. Apparently, and I've been very rude to the Boro fans, not for the first time in my life. Apparently, there's a match on tonight, and I completely omitted that from any of the notes from the show.
Can't believe it.
Just to prove that, you know, I'm not up my own backside at all here, lads. You know, I'm an amateur at this. You know, you've got to keep me right on these things. So yes, Middlesbrough are away at Birmingham City tonight. This is the game in hand that they had. That was obviously delayed due to Middlesbrough's involvement in the League Cup, where they managed to fortuitously find their way to a quarter final before meeting an actual decent side and going out at the first attempt. You've got Birmingham tonight.
It's not even us.
It's fact.
It's Birmingham. It was
it's an
Birmingham
interesting
to win
one.
the FA Cup while it was delayed. It wasn't even us. And
Is that what it
You
was?
still chipe in. Yeah, it wasn't even. It had nothing to do with us.
I thought that was postponed
No, it
because
was
of your
Birmingham.
involvement in the league.
Nothing to do with us.
Apologise.
No, it was
Middlesbrough,
Birmingham.
I do apologise on behalf of the great nation of Ted. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
It's not often it happens. I
ridiculous,
promise you.
isn't it, Boro fans?
Yeah.
Hey.
So it's another toughie, mate, isn't it? Because
It is.
Birmingham. Obviously, they've had that little resurgence. Obviously, they're missing Mogger at this moment in time. Obviously, you know, we wish him a speedy recovery.
not wrong.
But it's a bit up and down for Birmingham at this time. Played well in the second half against Sunderland. They've got the ability, they've got the players to hurt teams without a shadow of a doubt. They're starting to show signs of that Mogger brand of football as well. Is this a potential banana skin for Middlesbrough tonight?
Yes, definitely. Mogger's teams are always very, very well set up, and he knows us inside out. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't find a manager out there that knows the Borough more than Mogger, obviously, and I'm sure he would be passing it down. Mark Venus, he's number 2, obviously taking control as well. We're very familiar with Mark Venus as well, as is, you know, most fans of Mogger, and, you know, their stewardship, they are always together. And it's going to be interesting to see how Birmingham set up against us tonight, because we've just recently changed our formation. We're now playing with this back 3, almost a back 5 with Engel and Ayling, but they're sort of pushing up more as wing backs. But yeah, it's a complete different sort of look for both teams. I guess the last time we faced Birmingham, it was Wayne Rooney's first game in charge. Funny that. And now it's obviously under Mogger, but obviously he's not there, which, you know, we've got a lot of sympathy for in Borough. We've seen, you know, the tributes even in the crowd still for Mogger, and we love Mogger, and we hope that he gets a speedy recovery. But it is, you know, it's 3 points on the line. It's our catch-up game. It's the game we missed and was delayed because Birmingham progressed into the FA Cup. And obviously, you know, it's now been replayed. So it is a game that could see us end up, you know, right into 9th if we do win it, or, you know, obviously stay sort of where we are at the moment. But it's going to be a big game. It's away again. It's our 3rd game in the space of 6-7 days. You know, we're starting to stretch the squad a fair bit. We've got Blackburn then again on the weekend. So this is where you need that bigger championship squad to sort of to dig in and find, you know, with those players that maybe haven't played as many, you know, hours or minutes this season to sort of step up. Because I think Carrick would rest a few. I'm not too sure if he will, but it's a very short turnaround from that QPR game. to Birmingham tonight, and I think he'd be worried about injuries sort of thing. So I hope that it's the same sort of similar squad and it's the same setup, but time will tell how Carrick sort of lines us up. But it's going to be a big game. It's a big 3 points, but I'm just happy with how the Boro have been playing the past 2 games. We've been playing good football again. That game on the weekend against QPR was absolutely fantastic. It was the Boro of old, and I'm not too old, as in last season, the Michael Carrick classic sort of era of a first half sort of feel the game out, midfield battle, and then in the second half we sort of go up a gear and then manage to sort of punish some of their mistakes and also have some quality finishes. We saw with Marcus Forss and Latte Lath, 2 absolutely clinical finishes on the weekend. Marcus Forss's header from that angle is still being diagnosed by mathematicians across the world on how he did that. And Latte Lath being able to direct it in from Matt Clark as well. Another assist for Matt Clark. Can you stop it, you big bald eagle? It's absolutely fantastic. So look, I'm just excited to again to be watching the Boro. It's 6:30 a.m. my time, but it's a catch up game for Boro. It's a big one, but I want us to do well. I want us just to play exciting football, and we have been playing that into past 2 games. So you can't go in without anything but optimism that we're going to take away the 3 points here. It'll be interesting to see, as I said, who he rests and who he takes down. Will Izzy Jones feature? Will Johnny Howson play, who's just come back from injury and he's played the past 2 games? We've had 2 crucial wins. Does Carrick see that as a maybe we take our foot off the gas? I don't think he will. But I just obviously think we need to sort of be careful of how many minutes these boys have had in the past 2 weeks.
I think for me as well, I mean, looking at the opposition, right, first half of the season under Wayne Rooney, it's fair to say that the Birmingham's players underachieved, but they have got some talent in the ranks, and the likes of Jay Stansfield up front, Ollie Burke. You got Jordan James, Miyoshi in midfield, Jutkiewicz as well, which is there's always a danger. There's the old ex-player that comes back to haunt you.
Yeah,
their midfield and their forward line there's some talent in amongst that. Do you think that they're showing the signs now, starting to click? And is that a concern for Michael Carrick tonight?
Definitely. It's definitely that Mogga sort of click that we're seeing with Birmingham, and it wasn't going to take long. We know how well Mogga sets up his football teams. We see it with Sunderland ever since he's left, you know what I mean? Even though, we see it obviously now at Birmingham. And every time Mogga steps in, he seems to get a team just really, really formidable, especially, being an ex-defender himself as well. He just knows how to sort of get these boys, defending really well. We saw last time as well when we played Birmingham, we did end up beating them thanks to Wayne Rooney, but John Ruddy, we made him look like Victor Valdez in his prime, and we seem to have a habit of doing that at Boro, of making the opposition keeper look like an absolute superstar, and I hope that we don't see that tonight. But, look, Mogga sets his teams up well. I'm sure he'll have the same sort of messages down to Mark Venus. It'll be interesting to see. Birmingham obviously are really, really flirting into that relegation zone. They are 21st, obviously 22nd and below is in that relegation zone. They have had 3 losses and a draw on the bounce, and obviously Middlesbrough now having those 2 wins. It's a game we should win, but will we? Who knows with the Boro? But I just hope for an exciting football team, an exciting game, and I hope that we've found this confidence out of the past 2 games, but tonight will tell. And we're starting to, obviously, as I said, it's that moment of great coaching that's going to get us through this, because he needs to manage the squad. He needs to rotate, I would argue, because of the amount of fixtures we've had in the past 3 games. It's a catch-up game that no one else has got, sort of thing as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting tonight, Dazzy boy, but I'm still confident, especially after those past 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, one good thing that we heard last night on Bernie Slaven's show, live on the Red, was that he'd spoken to Mogga recently, and Mogga's is fighting. He's doing okay, but I think it's going to be a bit of a longer road back for Mogga. But there was some positive news from Bernie Slaven there, who was obviously his former teammate and good friend. So that's a bit of good news that he shared.
It hasn't been revealed, has it?
No. And,
good. Yeah.
And I think that's on Mogga's request. I think.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So we obviously we send him all our very best. So that's one thing, which is really positive, and obviously Mark Venus, he knows Mogga inside out. Has anybody else just got in their head diddle-diddle-ding, ding-a-ding, diddle-diddle-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-ding-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo? No?
That'll just be you.
Yeah, just me. Venus. Never
And that's
mind.
how the breakdown happened.
Yeah, so
And
look,
it was this point we were worried.
you look at the stats here. Birmingham 35 win probability percent, Boro 39, a draw 26%. It's going to be a close game. On paper, it should be a game that we should win. The form that we're on. The form that they're on as well, they are fighting for everything. They've had a couple of bad bits of luck with goals being allowed that shouldn't have been allowed. In fact, I think they've changed the referees for tonight after what happened at the weekend with a goal that should have been disallowed. So, I think they've had a bit of bad luck. But we know what happens with Boro at times with teams like this. My concern is he does make too many changes. For me, it's keep the same team. It's working. Yeah. Things are working, and I know the whole injuries, fatigue thing. But how yes, they've had. This is their third game in 8-9 days or whatever it is. But these are athletes. These are this is what they get paid for. This is their bread and butter. So resting players, taking players out. Unless they're injured, if they're injured, leave them out. If they're not, and look at what's happened over the last couple of games, leave them in. Mm-hmm. Stop messing with the team. Let's have a bit of consistency here. We've not had it all season. So for me, please, and he'll do what he wants. He's the manager. But
Correct.
What we look at it is though. You've had two winning formulas here that have produced really good performances in a season where we thought was falling away. Yet no one's flying the flag for playoff places though. What we are saying is let's give it a good run at the end of the season and play your best team, play the fittest players, and I think if they do that, we've got a really good chance of coming away with 3 points tonight.
Love that.
Absolutely. Just looking at we'll bring Steve in this as well. Looking at the squad and who they've got at their disposal, Birmingham City. Some really, really good young talent there. I mentioned Jay Stansfield, Jordan James, Ollie Burke, Juninho Bacuna as well is in amongst that. But there's also some great experience in there, and this is something that I think obviously I've rattled on about this with Sunderland. You need experienced players in your squad as well. They've got experience at both ends of the pitch in John Ruddy, who I think is still a very, very capable goalkeeper at championship level, and of course Jutkiewicz as well, who you can bring off the bench and still cause masses of problems as well. Young defenders won't fancy him coming off the bench and roughing them up a little bit and getting the elbows in on corners and things like that. Do you think Birmingham have got enough to get away from that relegation area that's threatened them for most of the season, Steve? Good point. Daz, what about you?
Yep.
Have we lost him?
Right, I'll take it.
I think he's back. Are you back there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm back, lads. Yeah, internet dipped out.
No worries. I don't know whether you caught any of that, did you?
No, because the internet dipped out.
Right.
I got cut off, lads.
No worries, no, that's fine. So I was just saying there's obviously a wealth of young talent in the Birmingham squad. The likes of Stansfield, James Burke, Dizelle, Bacuna. But they've also got two big experienced heads in the likes of Jutkiewicz up front, and they've got John Ruddy, who's still, I think, a fantastic goalkeeper, certainly a championship level. Lucky to have him. Do you think there's enough about that squad to pull them away from the relegation zone?
Yeah, it's tough at the bottom, isn't it, for Birmingham? I mean, Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday are the two teams that you think will probably, give it a good go until the end of the season. Queen's Park Rangers as well, were doing well until they came up against Boro. It's a big game again. Middlesbrough will be looking now, although the fans aren't going to get too carried away, we'll be looking at 3 points tonight and suddenly, playoffs is back in contention. That's how crazy the division is. But yeah, I think Birmingham have got, they've got it between their teeth as well to get out of this relegation battle. So I think this is going to be a tight game tonight for Middlesbrough. I think, I think Birmingham have got enough to get out of it. I really, really do. I think the three teams that are going to go down probably will. Well, I think Rotherham's a certainty. I think Rotherham's dead and buried. I think Huddersfield will go. And I've got a feeling Queen's Park Rangers will go as well. So I think Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham can get out of this. I really do. Birmingham's got this game in hand tonight. And that take if Birmingham win tonight, they go to 42 points, and that takes you up to what 16,
almost mid-table.
It's so hard to call, lads. It's so hard to call. But I agree. I think Ruddy's a really good player.
Yes.
I think he could be the danger man for Middlesbrough tonight. But yeah, I see this playing out as a draw tonight, lads. I don't think that'll be a surprise. I think a draw would be what I would call it tonight. But yeah, I think Birmingham. I think Birmingham will stay up, and I think they'll have more than enough for the battle tonight. I think them and Sheffield Wednesday have got the bit between their teeth.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get our full predictions, our proper score predictions, just after this little ad break.
Together across the North East.
The Toon, the Cat and the Red.
Hello, Alan Wicker here. Ever get the impression that I've been everywhere? Well, it's true, I have been everywhere. And today I'm going to be everywhere inside your radio. Here I am in your left speaker to tell you that Travelocity offers a Fare Watcher service which can find you the right flight at the right price. And here I am in your right speaker to tell you that when you type in where you want to go, Fare Watcher will email you updates on the best deals. And here I am in the woofers to say Travelocity.co.uk.
And here I am in the tweeters to say, hello world.
ATOL protected.
Hi everybody, this is Huey Lewis. Hi, I'm Eddie Grant.
Hello, this is Brian May of Queen.
Weren't the 80s mint? If, like me, you love the 80s, then tune in to 80s Mint for the best in 80s music and memories. Right here with me, Daz, every Saturday from 9 and Sundays from noon.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East. The Red, the Toon and the Cat.
And we've had a few WhatsApp messages come in on 0330 or 43 2002. Thank you very much.
Is one of them a guitarist?
He was, yeah. He was straight in there. Morning show. Morning show.
Morning show.
This is Al's. Morning, guys. Great show. Ask Rye, will he be playing his Scran song in the background of his watch along tonight?
Yes. No, I won't be, because YouTube will probably DMCA me and I'll be in big trouble. Yeah. But I wish I could.
And of course, if you are a Boro fan, you can listen on the Red to Rise Watch Along tonight. Morning time for him, but for us,
yeah, wrong.
It's this evening. Boro away at Birmingham, and you can listen to Rise. Very unique watch along right here on the Red. That's fair to say. All right, Jack's been in touch. He's had a couple of messages.
Morning, Jack.
I think this is a response to your performance in the last round of Knowing Me, Knowing You. I didn't realise Australians were like Americans and didn't know anything about outside their borders.
Oh, okay. No, we don't. No.
I mean, Jack.
Boro fan turning on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy,
yeah.
Jack. Easy,
That's
Jack.
why Jack's banned in Australia. It was just decreed right now. Happy being Jack from Leicester for the rest of your life.
He also said...
he meant that.
Oh, he did. I could feel the venom
lock there for life. In all out.
He also said, I moved nearly 500 kgs of steel yesterday and will do something similar today. I'm far from an athlete. I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Jack. I think Jack must put these points out in the middle as we're saying something, and obviously to come back to them sometimes doesn't always make no context. I'll try harder, Jack. They're doing something I do as a hobby, and I can't do it twice a week. Well, I have no idea what that's referring to. No idea. There's still time. There's still time.
Lady of the night.
There's 15 minutes left of the show. If you want to get in touch, you can do it as always via WhatsApp 0330 043 2002. We love to hear from you.
Let's have it one more time. I don't know whether you ever want me to do this again, but let's have a last round of Knowing Me, Knowing EU.
It's easier than What the Fact.
Well, yeah, that's not the point, though, is it? EU! Aha!
Aha!
EU!
EU!
Aha!
Oh, yeah, I got it wrong there.
There's 2 words. EU! Aha! Aha!
EU!
There's people around the North East going around shouting EU at each other, yeah.
It's the final round, boys. We're going to start with Steve on this one because he's had it easy so far. Steve, you've actually performed pretty well, mate. I think you got 2 out of 3 on each of the last rounds. So, yeah.
I'm not playing
Fair
now.
play, mate. Fair play.
I've resigned now. I've stopped.
No.
He's resigned.
No. One more round to go. There's only 3 cities to go.
I can't go
up
first.
to of the
I've got a bit
EU.
of a cough.
Your first city, Steve, Reykjavik.
Where's Reykjavik?
Is it in the EU or is it not? There are no clues, not in this game.
Well, it's either yes or no.
That's true, yes. I'm going to have to push you for an answer, Steve.
This quick fire round.
Okay, I am going to say it's not in the EU.
Okay, Daz.
I'm going no.
Rye.
I'm going to say I wreck your bit every day on this show with my game shows, and I'm going to say no.
You are indeed correct. Reykjavik is in Iceland. Iceland is not part of the EU. Next one. Oslo. Steve, Oslo.
Now that's Norway. So that's not in the EU.
Okay. Daz.
Yes.
Oslo. Rye.
No. No for Norway.
Correct. Norway is not part of the EU.
Well done.
Get in.
Final one of this absolutely enthralling contest. The final city is, Steve, Gothenburg. Gothenburg.
Oh no, that's Sweden.
Yes.
So that is in the EU, 100%.
Okay. Daz?
Yes.
Rye.
I'm just thinking this is where Batman lives, right? And the Joker and everything. I'm going to say yes.
Oh, God. You are indeed all correct, gentlemen. Gothenburg is in the capital of Sweden, of course, and Sweden is in the EU. That concludes the Knowing Me, Knowing EU. Probably for the last time ever and condemned to the bin. It's a shame to waste this theme tune, though. EU! Aha! EU! Aha!
Who, me?
EU! Aha! Aha!
Are the results in?
Yes.
Are the results in?
Yeah, who won?
It was just for fun. It was just for fun. It's just for fun.
So competitive,
it's
it's
like
Steve.
Nobody ever. No, actually, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if you won that, Steve, because I don't think you got many wrong.
You would have gone close.
I think it was a draw, wasn't it? I think we all drew. I didn't keep a note of it, but I had a feeling we all We all got.
I think radio entertainment is the real winner here, Steve.
The listener.
Is that the Sony Awards on the phone? Alt's joining in with your game, Ted. He sent a message saying, Tirana, yes or no?
Oh.
Tirana. I would say no.
That's Albania.
Isn't that a song? Tirana.
Albania.
Isn't that off Shooting Stars? Tirana. Ufavo. Tirana.
I don't know,
Tirana. Albania.
No, it's that, Tirana, Anana. Oh, I wanna take you to Havana,
Maldives.
Did you say Deves? You're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong. You don't dive into the pool.
The EU is made up of 27 countries. Let's have a look. Oh, come on. I can't see.
It's definitely Albania.
No, I don't think Albania is part of it.
No.
There you go.
So we're saying no there, Els, via Google. We're saying no.
I'm saying you made it up. It's a brand of tequila.
Right, fair enough. I'm saying no as well. I don't think Albania is part of the EU. Anyway, very quickly, lads, we'll get the score predictions just before we go. But I just want to touch on this before we fly off. Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules set to be replaced as early as this summer. So they are going to be replaced in the summer. The new system will be aligned with UEFA's squad cost ratio rules, but the new regulations will not affect the ongoing cases regarding Everton, Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. So those kind of accusations are still there. They will still exist, but the new regulations will be they'll eventually limit clubs participating in European competitions to only spend 70% of revenue on transfer fees, players' wages, and so on. Initial reaction to that, Steve, is that more like it? Or is it just still farcical? And is it right that those charges will still apply to the three clubs I mentioned?
I mean, what does it even mean? And why are they constantly looking at ways of changing rules and making it worse? Nobody can clearly say what's going to be beneficial and what isn't going to be beneficial for their respective football clubs with this FFP stuff. They should really just look at taking it away from the game altogether, because it's not a level playing field. They've been caught out. They've been trying to protect the top six, and the cat's out the bag now, and everybody knows what's been going on. And it doesn't matter whether it's Newcastle, Brighton, Wolves, West Ham. We're all in the same boat as far as trying to compete with these teams who've led the Premier League for so long. And I just think they should just scrap it. They should just say, look, we've been caught out, let's just move on, instead of trying to change the goalpost and move the goalpost and justify the reason for doing it. And it's just pathetic. It really is. It affects Newcastle no matter what happens, but it affects all of these clubs who are trying to trying to be better than they are. So yeah, I think they should just scrap it, lads. It's as simple as that. There's no amount of rule change will make things any better. They've been caught out, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, reading on here, Ryan will bring you in on this as well, mate. So the Premier League have been looking to adopt this sort of UEFA-based model, but it's kind of a version of it, so it's still not the same. So the Premier League's looking at a model enabling clubs to spend up to 85% of revenue on squad cost. So that's transfer fees and wages, that kind of thing, with a sliding scale of penalties in place where clubs exceed that ratio. They still kind of make their minds up. I mean, there's no guarantee, apparently, that this new model will even be signed off. There's an AGM, an annual general meeting in June for the Premier League, so it's still not guaranteed to be signed off then. But like Steve's saying, is it worth keeping this at all? Because nobody seems to be able to agree on what it is or how it should be policed.
Nah, get rid of it. Honestly, scrap it. I'm completely with Steve. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, seeing Leicester now, just recently having to cop up and front up, but if they're obviously going to, you would think they're going to go up from the Championship this season straight back into the Premier League, and then they're going to face a points reduction, which will probably send them right back down to the Championship. I mean, how is that? How is that level? How is that? And if they did that in the Premier League last season, why have they been allowed to then play in the Championship this season? Do you know what I mean? With with what we've got going on. So I don't get it. It's just it's just ridiculous. And like Steve said, it's all about the top six and looking after them. And it's FFP is my biggest hatred this season. The amount of teams that are going around it and boycotting it and doing dodgy things would just be absolutely incredible. And I'm just over it. You know, if people aren't gonna play by the rules, then why have the rules?
Fair play, mate. Fair play. We're almost at the end. We're going to get our quick score predictions. I'll give mine on tonight, first of all, get mine out of the way with. It's a tough one. I think Birmingham are trying to play themselves back into form again. I can't see Middlesbrough getting beat at this one, so I am going to plump for a 1-1 draw, lads. 1-1 draw. Rye.
I'm going 3-1 to the Boro, and it's a 1... thanks to a bit of a howler from Boro in the first half, and then we'll come back second half with 3 goals and win 3-1 away from home.
Lovely, lovely. Steve?
I'm going for a 1-1, lads. Don't think it's going to suit either team, but 1-1. 1-1 for me.
And finally, Daz.
Yeah, I mean, a draw does sound like it may be the right option.
Daz?
No, I haven't finished.
Come over here.
No, I haven't finished. A draw might sound like as though it's going to be the right option, looking at the way the form of these two teams are in. But I think if Boro get the team selection right tonight, get the formation right, they'll go there and then we'll do them. I'm going 3-0.
Yes, Daz. That's the Daz I love. There he is. Good morning, Dazzy boy.
He's out there. Lads, we did it. We got through all the talking points. We got a new quiz out the way. We did everything.
Wow.
We did everything we set out to
Well
do.
done,
Can you believe
lads.
that?
Without mentioning...
Absolutely incredible scenes.
Without mentioning any sort of photograph dispute or a pair of trousers that fit really well, or we managed to get through it without all of those things, those major things that are hitting the news today.
Wild, isn't it?
We managed it.
Wild when you get the right crew together, isn't it?
Does that mean you're bringing it up on your show, Daz?
Well, I've got a really interesting show today because I've got a brilliant guest on my show. It's Ted. Ted is on my show today. So last week we had Rye. This week we've got Ted.
We did.
Steve is coming.
It's
controversial.
Yeah,
it's controversial.
Yeah.
You better be nice about it, me, Ted. You better be super nice.
You're gonna have to listen.
It is worth a listen, this one, because what he has to say about North East Footy Breakfast and who's responsible for that. It's interesting here. So I'm really pleased that you're on the show.
I'm not going to hold back.
Don't. Really pleased that you're on the show this morning, Ted. And then we've got all the usual nonsense as well, including the quiz that is sweeping the nation. Name that theme. So thank you so much, guys. If you
cheers, lads.
Thank you.
If you missed the show this morning, you can listen again between 4 and 6 across the network. And of course, the podcast of the North East Footy Brekky will be out in an hour or two for you to listen in your own delight. Have a lovely Tuesday, guys.
You too.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Ta-ra.